AGamer here, and the skill balance update just went live for Guild Wars 2, and I want to do a small discussion about the changes made to the warrior class. Alright, let's start with the first change, which was the Deep Strike trait in the arms line. It went from 150 to 180 condition damage when you have Fury, so maybe ArenaNet wanted us to see a little bit more Condi based builds for the warrior in PvP, so increasing this by 30, maybe that's enough to encourage some builds to be created that utilize condition damage, maybe Condi builds, not really sure. I can't really say that 30 is enough for me to definitely change into a full Condi build, but it's definitely enough for me to at least try. The next change down the list was a cooldown reduction of Eviscerate by 1/4 of a second, so, I mean, instead of it being 7 seconds, it's 6.75, so I guess it was just to basically match all the other bursts, but, I mean, hey, in clutch moments, that 0.25 of a second will definitely make a difference, so, I don't know. The next change was done to your sword ability, Hamstring. The third attack now inflicts bleeding, as well as the other first two attacks, so it definitely looks like ArenaNet is trying to push warriors to try and build or create Condi builds instead of having all berserker warriors run around. They're trying to promote it, so I can definitely praise ArenaNet for at least trying to get more diverse warrior builds out there. Alright, the next two changes were actually to the hammer. Fierce Blow got a damage increase of 28%, and Hammer Shock got a damage increase of 25%. So I guess ArenaNet wants to try and see a little bit more hammer builds running around, feeling like the hammers do a little bit more damage. And hey, I'm never gonna complain about damage increases to the warrior of any kind of weapon. So you know what? This actually might encourage me to actually try out a few hammer builds. The next change was done to the burst attack for the bow. The combustive shot's radius is now permanently 360 as compared to its 180 and 240, depending on how much adrenaline you had when you activated it. And I'm very happy about that. I can now definitely see myself using the bow burst attack a lot more frequently rather than waiting for my adrenaline to fill up fully so I can activate it and get its full potential out. So I can definitely see now some players thinking about using the bow in PvP matches. Back to the hammer again, the Primal Burst Rupturing Smash actually got a damage increase of 50%. Now, I've actually personally never used the hammer in any of my PvP builds, but just the fact that it's got such a huge damage increase of 50%, that's a huge amount. Especially if I go full Berserker, that damage is going to go through the roof. On top of my Fierce Blow and my Hammer Shock already getting damage increases, I'm just willing just to try out some hammer builds just for pure damage. Greatsword Hammer, just pure damage output. I mean, I'm really excited to actually just try this out. So the fact that they increased the hammer damage output overall by such a huge amount, I definitely foresee warriors trying to definitely make a meta out of a hammer build. The damage increase they've been doing, they had to drop something. So the Mace Counter Blow attack actually had a damage reduction of 12.5, so I mean, they did that. However, they did add the Condi 10 stacks of vulnerability will be added to this attack. So, I mean, I guess in a group fight, if you counter blow 10 stacks of vulnerability to whoever you hit, I mean, might be very useful. So, can't really think of any synergy to be having use for vulnerability. But hey, more damage on one person, especially in a group fight, is definitely going to help a lot. Now some changes to the shouts. To the limits, endurance gained regeneration has been increased from 25 to 50. So every time you're just need a free dodge, activate to the limits, and bam, 50 endurance is regained, which is pretty good. I actually like that. I felt like it was actually lacking something. That might actually be worth a while now to actually use it. Shake It Off got a condition removed increase. It went from 1 condition removed to 2, and I definitely like that, especially since I definitely feel warriors don't have enough Condi cleanse. I feel like this might definitely help. Actually now gives a purpose to shake it off a little bit more than it used to be. And for Great Justice, Might stacking was doubled, went from 3 to 6. So definitely shouts got a decent buff, and just for those reasons alone, I actually do see this being useful in World vs. World as well as PvP. And while we're on the utilities, Mending actually got a cooldown decrease from 20 seconds to 15 seconds. But honestly, I really don't think that's enough to be worthwhile to still use Mending. I mean, it doesn't heal that much. Conditions removed, I mean, you might be able to use it just for that alone, but unless you're getting Condi pressured, I don't really see it being useful in almost any scenario. PvP, World vs. World, PvE. I feel like they gotta add something to it. Maybe add like another buff, maybe Might on top of your trait that gives it Might, or something, resistance, anything. Just a little bit more oomph, just to give this ability just a little bit more purpose for using. Now sticking with the healing skills, Blood Reckoning actually got a damage to healing doubled. Used to be 10%, now it is actually 20%. So that alone right there is actually giving me purpose to try and at least use Blood Reckoning as a skill rather than just continue sticking with my Signet of Healing. Because depending, if I'm in a group fight, 20% damage, if I'm doing at least 1k per opponent, I mean, I could get my health up in full, from 0 to full in just a couple of seconds. I mean, it stays up for 5 seconds. I do plenty of damage, especially if I'm Berserker build. I mean, I can definitely see more people using Blood Reckoning, so I'm really happy about that healing increase. Back to the trait line, the healing power effect is actually doubled for Vigorous Shouts. So right now I'm currently using the amulet of Magi Amulet, so 1200 healing power. And top of that, I get 20% boost just to Vigorous Shouts. So each shout right now is currently healing me at 2,440. So the more healing power I have, the more healing I'll basically do with shouts. This alone has given me purpose to try and remake some of my shout builds. I'm actually very excited right now to actually go right now and just make some sort of shout build and try it out in PvP. This alone just actually excites me. I'm just really looking forward to seeing more shout builds for warriors out there in PvP. I mean, there's currently 3 amulets for healing power. We got the Magi. We got, what was it? We got the Mender with 1050. That gives me more power, more precision. So I'm just overly, really happy about this change. I definitely want to see more shout builds, because warriors can be support builds basically, and I love being support. But on top of that, they can be support, heal themselves, remove Condi cleanse, and they can still dish out a decent amount of damage. Now I'm pretty sure this is one of the biggest updates to the warrior for quite some time. I don't know if it's going to be OP, but it definitely sounds like it. But until I start testing them out, I'm not really going to be able to say for sure. But I have high hopes for this increase just because of that alone. Change to banners was done. Number of allied targets is now 10 as compared to 5. Now this ain't going to be useful in PvE. Maybe in PvE, definitely not PvP, but definitely I see this being useful in World vs. World. Imagine like 20 people, 2 warriors dropping banners. Imagine an entire Zerg toughness and power is increased by 170. Just precision, all that power is just gonna keep adding up to those players. I can definitely seeing a little bit more tactics being added to World vs. World simply for that purpose. Not sure how it's gonna affect the meta, but I can definitely see some people at least trying it out, increasing the Zerg's mobility. Just you name it. I'm really excited to actually see this being utilized in World vs. World. I think it's definitely going to add a little bit more excitement to fighting and a little bit more tactics. Quite excited about it. Back to the hammer, there was a small bug fix for Earthshaker where it was able to hit 10 targets somehow. Now I've never really known about this bug, so I'm not really sure. But hey, if you were able to hit 10 targets, I guess you won't be able to do it now, so good, I guess? A small change to the torch was made. Blazebreaker will now actually face your target when you try and cast it, rather than just simply whatever way you're facing or fail. I've never really used the torch, but I can definitely see that being useful, especially if the target's behind you. You automatically flip and actually hit that target, so it's just more of a quality of life change. But I actually like that. That's actually a pretty good fix. Another small change was made to the axe, Whirling Axe. Apparently when you try to jump off when you activated this, it wouldn't cancel and you would basically drop to your death. So, I mean, for some people that have used axe in PvE and try to glide and drop to the death, I mean, I guess I'll be happy about it, but we'll update, I guess. But with all these buffs to the warrior, they had to do something, I guess, to try not to make the warrior feel OP. So Adrenaline Health actually had a healing decrease by 10% in PvP only, so I guess we can't be overly powerful, still can't heal too much. But that is basically all the updates for the warrior class. I am definitely looking forward to creating some shout builds with my new healing power builds. I'm looking forward to that. Maybe some hammer builds. I'm definitely looking forward to that. Now I read all the other updates for all the other classes, such as Necros and all that good jazz. Basically this update seems to be, as I would call it, if everybody's OP, no one is. But I'd also like to discuss it, so if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, leave it in the comments. I would love to hear from you.